What's up, fellas? In the second of today's videos, we're going to be taking a look at some moves that NBA teams are already regretting, whether it be, trading for guys, whether it be letting someone go, whether it be re-signing a player in free agency, outright signing a player in free agency. There are 6 moves in this video that I think teams are already nervous about and are concerned that they made the wrong decision. And it's really interesting to already look at. I mean, these are very, very recent moves, and a lot of these teams, I'm sure, are already regretting these ones. But really quickly, before we get started, if you enjoy content like this, then consider subscribing. If you're new here, what's up? My name is Tucker. I upload NBA stuff on this channel twice a day, every single day. So it's the most consistent NBA content on YouTube. If that's something you're interested in, then consider subscribing. You can also leave a like rating on the videos as well, and check me out at various socials at the bottom of the screen and a link tree down in the description below. With those things said, let's get started with the list. And at number 1 is a really tough one. It's the Wizards re-signing Davis Bertans. And I think connected to that as well is not trading away Davis Bertans. Now, the Wizards have been playing better lately. They're putting themselves potentially in position to make the postseason this year. However, Bertans isn't having a fantastic season. He's been fine. But when you're looking at a player that signed a 5-year, $85 million contract in the offseason after one really good breakout year after just kind of being a rotation guy for years and years and years, all those things point to some red flags here. I was excited for Bertans when he got the deal. I was excited, just go and get your money. Like I was happy for him. He's someone that has grinded for a long time and really took advantage of the opportunity there in Washington. But I think ultimately it's definitely a concern how this season has gone. Again, he hasn't been awful, but I mean, if you're paying that type of money to a guy that's a shooter, you're expecting a result similar to what Bertans put up last year, and quite simply, he's not been able to do that. And I think connected to this is the fact that they had an opportunity to get, I don't know about significant value, but to get a good amount of value out of Davis Bertans had they decided to trade him at the deadline last year. I think there were plenty of teams around the league that would have loved to have the shooting ability that he was bringing to the table. And ultimately, they decided they wanted to keep him. They wanted to re-sign him. And then they made the Westbrook move. And that was with the mindset that Bertans was going to provide them the spacing that they would need for years and years and years. Now, it's not just the amount of the contract here, but I think the length is a bit of a concern as well. I think the mindset for Washington was, this guy is a shooter. He's not relying on athleticism. Even if he gets slightly worse over the next couple of years, the shooting aspect, which is what we're really paying for here, is going to be so good over that stretch that it's not really going to matter. And I think you can make the case that this could be a significant hindrance of a contract here moving forward, depending on how Bertans plays the rest of this deal. So that's one that I think if you're a Wizards fan, you're already kind of nervous about. And I think Washington is right there along with you with those Wizards fans. Next up now on the list is one that I definitely got wrong, and it's the Dallas Mavericks trading away Seth Curry. So at the time that this deal was made, I thought it was a pretty natural fit. Each team between Philly and Dallas were each getting something they needed at the exact same position. So Dallas needed more defense. They needed better wing defenders. They needed someone other than Dorian Finney-Smith that they could trust to actually guard somebody. And the Sixers needed more shooting. And so this swap between Seth Curry and Josh Richardson seemed like a really natural fit. And Richardson hasn't been bad for Dallas, but I think they definitely missed the shooting and the perimeter spark and creativity at times that Seth Curry brought to them last year. And I think that really, shows itself in some of the struggles they've had offensively this year, even though Luka has still been putting up really, really great numbers. And I think if Dallas had to do it all over again, they probably would have kept Seth Curry and then tried to figure out a way to fix the defense in other ways, because the addition of Josh Richardson has definitely not fixed some of the defensive issues that Dallas had last year. And again, some of the offensive stuff and the shooting specifically has really, really suffered, and Curry's having a fantastic season in Philadelphia and has been exactly what they needed. So good job by Daryl Morey there, the GM in Philly. But ultimately, I think if Dallas had to do it over again, they would definitely rather have Seth Curry right now. And it kind of doubles up with the fact that Richardson can be a free agent this offseason if he opts out, and Curry was signed for the next couple of years long-term on like $8 or $9 million a year. And again, I'm sure Dallas absolutely regrets this one, and I got that one wrong. I thought it was a great fit, and it just has not worked out well for Dallas at all. Next up now is another one that I'm sure a team is regretting right now, and it's the Miami Heat letting Jay Crowder walk and just overall kind of changing the combination. What's the word I'm looking for here? I can't remember the word. I can't remember what I'm trying to say here, but the collection of players on their roster. from the team that made the finals last year. And I point out Jay Crowder here specifically, but there are a couple other guys that left that group from a year ago. And it just boils down to a risk that I think is absolutely worth it. The fact that they thought Giannis might leave and they thought that Giannis could potentially sign with them in free agency. They wanted to keep their 2021 free agency options open, as they are still doing. And ultimately, they let some guys walk that were pretty critical to their team last year, and Jay Crowder is one of those. Now, Jay Crowder's not, setting the league on fire and having a great year in Phoenix by any means, but I think he's exactly the type of player that Miami would like to have right now, especially considering some of their struggles in the beginning of the year. And, 3 years, $30 million is really not that much for Jay Crowder, and I think if they could do it all over again, they would probably rather keep Jay Crowder on the roster and figure out the free agency stuff later, considering, again, some of the limited avenues they're going to have for improvement in free agency anyway when it comes to the players actually available in 2021. I think they're kind of missing Jay Crowder right now, and they would, if they could do it all over again, bring him back. Next up now on the list, number 4, is the New Orleans Pelicans, and it's not trading for Steven Adams, it's signing him to an extension. I think the mindset for New Orleans when they traded for Steven Adams was, let's get an adult, let's get someone that can help these young guys develop, and let's get someone that we can count on night to night to be a really good defensive presence and a rebounding presence, and let the other young guys learn from that and figure out how to play defense, but also they can focus way more on what they're good at, which is scoring. Unfortunately, the addition of Adams has certainly not made New Orleans a great defensive team by any stretch of the imagination. And then the re-signing of him to a contract is definitely a curious decision, especially when you're a team like New Orleans that, you want all the flexibility in the world. You've got all these draft picks, you've got younger players, and you would ideally, rather have the option to move pieces around at any point in time. And signing someone like Adams, who isn't going to have a ton of value in the trade market, to a significant long-term extension limits the flexibility of your roster in a really significant way. And I think, again, if they could do it all over again, and they've seen how Adams has played this year, not that he's been bad, but he's not worth the extension they signed him to, they probably wouldn't have done that deal. I think, the reasoning behind the move was sound, but ultimately it just has turned out to be the incorrect decision there in New Orleans. 2 more now, second to last. The Houston Rockets, who have lost like 9 in a row. Christian Wood has been hurt. I honestly think they're kind of regretting having Victor Oladipo being the center of the James Harden trade here. Here's why. He's been fine, but not great, not inspiring a ton of confidence there in Houston. And from the minute they traded for him, like, they were on the clock to figure out if they wanted to keep him or not. And again, the possibility exists that Oladipo just goes somewhere else. Like, there's nothing tying Victor Oladipo to Houston. If he doesn't have a good experience, if he doesn't like the situation there, if he doesn't think that they're going to be good moving forward, he can just leave. And then that's a significant part of the Harden trade that they lost out on there in terms of value. And that would be a really concerning place for me to be if I was Houston. And again, if they're looking back on it, they said either they could keep LeVert or maybe they could take the Philadelphia package rather than what they got from Brooklyn. The Victor Oladipo piece of this is really, really concerning. And I think it's more likely than not right now that he would end up leaving Houston given the opportunity this offseason. And as a result, that really limits his trade value because other teams don't want to trade for him either if they think he's going to leave. And he hasn't necessarily been outstanding in Houston either. So the value of that asset is decreased while also knowing you're going to have to pay him a ton of money in the offseason to try and make him stay in the first place. It's a very bad situation to be in, ultimately one that Houston might be regretting in this moment. Then last up is one that we've talked about a few times, but it's worth mentioning here when you're talking about moves that teams have probably regretted, and that is Boston giving up the opportunity to bring in Doug McDermott and Miles Turner in exchange for Gordon Hayward in favor of having this huge trade exception. Now, down the road, maybe this trade exception becomes a bigger deal as we get closer to the deadline or in the early parts of the 2021 offseason. But if it's me and looking at this roster this year, I would rather have McDermott and Turner than the trade exception. I think when you're looking around the league, are they going to get better value than Turner and McDermott for free in exchange for the trade exception? Probably not. They're going to have to give up some kind of draft compensation to bring in a guy and take on a bigger number that's actually going to help their team this year, or, whatever the case may be. You were getting those guys in this equation for free because Hayward was leaving regardless. And the options were get the exception or get actual players. And they could have gotten actual players for literally free for an unrestricted free agent leaving their team, rather than this huge ambiguous trade exception that you have no idea what they're actually going to use it for. And I think ultimately that has proved to be the incorrect decision. I won't hammer this one home too much because I've talked about it plenty of times, but I absolutely think it's a move that they're regretting. So in review, we've got the Wizards signing Bertans, the Mavericks trading away Seth Curry, the Heat letting Jay Crowder and others walk, the Pelicans signing Steven Adams to an extension, the Rockets counting on Victor Oladipo and not getting McDermott and Turner in exchange for Gordon Hayward, as 6 moves that I think teams are already regretting, from their recent 2020 to 21 moves. Let me know down in the comment section below some other ideas that you guys have of some moves that teams are probably regretting right about now, and to see what you guys have to say down in the comment section below. But with those things said, that is going to be the end of today's video, and I thank you all very much for watching. As I said in the beginning, my name is Tucker. If you enjoyed the videos, then be sure to check out more like them from me at the boxes on screen, as well as on the channel as a whole. If you liked the video, you can leave a like rating. You can check me out at various socials in that link tree down in the description below as well. And yeah, thank you guys very much for watching. Hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you all next time.